Have you ever had a product that you purchased that had one feature on it that was so good and such an unexpected surprise, and ironically it wasn't even the thing you purchased it for? I feel like an experience like this is pretty few and far between, but the Zoom H6 is actually one of those few items that has done this for me. Now, of course, having something like the Zoom H6 is going to be one of the core components to your audio kit, filling out that sort of external and field recorder category. I also do have shotgun microphones, like the Rode VideoMic NTG, which I've already done a video on this channel that you can check out, as well as lav microphones. But really, having a unit like the Zoom H6 is going to help round out a lot of your audio situations that you'll come across. Say if you're doing different run and gun gigs and you need to capture audio for a DJ, or input multiple microphones and record them from a single source, and so on from there. So just to run through some of the Zoom H6 specifications, this is a unit that comes with 4 XLR and 1/4 inch TRS connectors that will allow you to hook up either a direct XLR microphone or say a guitar or something else or another line level signal. Each input unit has its own volume control and a -20 decibel cut switch, so this is really helpful depending on the different input signals that you're trying to feed in and needing to maybe cut down on level depending on certain circumstances. The unit also has a replaceable capsule input along the top, which can be replaced with a bunch of different options. This will come with an XY microphone, but you can replace it with an additional couple of XLR inputs, among some other options that Zoom offers. Each of the inputs do support phantom power as well, depending on, again, the mic and the type of situation you're in. There is a large color LCD display, which, although not touch controllable, is able to be easily navigated and worked with using the controls along the side of the unit. The unit records straight to SD cards, and given the fact that even using WAV files with audio, they're not particularly large, say compared to camera, photo, or video files, so you could generally get away with something like a 16 or 32 gig SDHC card without even needing to get an SDXC card or something with a really larger capacity. This is a unit that records 24-bit audio, so worth noting you're not going to get the nearly limitless or unclippable type of levels that you would get with a 32-bit float unit, but still very good, and again, easy to monitor your levels in terms of needing to stay under a clipping point with audio. There's also a bunch of built-in limiters and compressors and other effects that you can add either per channel, depending on what you're trying to do, or you can add essentially across all of the channels in the given unit. Now, the unit can also be used as a USB-compatible audio interface with your computer, though you also have direct analog line outs and a headphone monitoring jack separately for this unit, which makes it easier to monitor audio. And the unit can also be powered by 4 AA batteries or an AC power adapter if you so choose. Now, one thing worth noting is the fact that this unit doesn't include too much in the box just from the get-go. You'll have some basic manuals and the recorder itself, but if you're looking to use this, say, as an audio interface and utilize a micro USB to USB connector, that'll be a separate purchase. The power adapter that this unit uses from Zoom also would be yet another separate purchase, and this unit, unlike some other models like the H4n, does not include a built-in case of any sort, so depending on where you're storing this, that might be another investment you might want to consider. Now, in terms of mentioning the H4n, I think it is worth considering where this recorder slots in terms of Zoom's lineup, and maybe just talking a bit about why I went with the H6 specifically. Stepping up to the H6 kind of gets you away from some of the H4n's compromises, those of course being the 2 inputs the H4n has versus, say, the 4 of the H6, the more limited and less usable monochrome display of the H4n versus the color one that's a bit larger on the H6, the fact that on the H4n you have one single jack that either has to be an analog line out or a headphone monitoring jack, whereas you have separate jacks for this on both with the H6, and perhaps the last big one with regard to the H4n is battery life. The battery life on the H6 is actually excellent. I believe Zoom rates it up to around 20 hours, and I've recorded easily hours and hours with this unit, say on a given shoot day, still to find my battery somewhere between around 50 to 75% left. So this is definitely a unit that's going to give you much longer battery life compared to some of the other Zoom units that do not take 4 AA's and maybe only take 2 or some lesser combination. Now, one thing I find that often gets overlooked with external recorders is some of the basic settings you'll want to generally set this up. So of course, one of those is the fact that most cameras record audio internally at 48 kilohertz. So therefore, once you're picking a bit and sampling rate in your Zoom H6, you'll probably want to set this to 24-bit and 48 kilohertz, just to ensure that the audio you capture in your Zoom unit matches that which you record in your cameras. The second is that because this unit has so many different built-in effects, though I tend to leave a lot of that stuff in post, I do apply a limiter to each of the different channels. Mostly this helps prevent the audio from clipping in any major way, and so in this case, it's one less thing I have to worry about, again, in terms of while I'm recording or trying to monitor audio. Now you also might want to make sure that your battery settings are set to the particular type of battery you're using with it. In my case, I use the Panasonic Eneloop rechargeable batteries, so setting it to the nickel metal hydride option is going to allow me to monitor battery life consistently and correctly, but of course that could change in your situation depending on what you're using. Mostly if you've set those few things up in the Zoom H6, you're probably good to go. Now of course one thing people are always curious about is audio quality and just how this unit sounds capturing different input sources. I would say probably just like most any other good quality external recorder, the Zoom captures audio from its XLR and TRS inputs really cleanly and sounds fine with no issues to me. I'll see if I can include some maybe samples from different weddings and other things where I've captured audio right after this so you can hear some of that, but probably not too much else to report on there.
First, I want to thank the hosts and everyone here at the mansion for the beautiful job they've done putting everything together, because it's very lovely. And I want to thank all of you who came out to support and celebrate with Scott and Cheyenne today.
And since I figured this would be of use, this is a test of my Rode VideoMic NTG, going into Rode's VXLR adapter, going straight into the Zoom H6 into one of its XLR and TRS inputs. And this is what that sounds like. However, I did mention and start this out with one particular feature that I love about this unit, and frankly, probably a lot of the other Zoom units as well. And so I want to touch on that. So simply put, the XY mic pair on this unit is outstanding. It sounds incredibly good for capturing audio from a given room or really any type of closed situation, and I've been continually impressed with this, and it has saved me on more than one occasion. So I'd mentioned a couple times on this channel already in other different videos that I've been recording some concerts for, say, these teen rock school events. Now, in many cases, you might think and hope that, well, a lot of these concerts will have a direct line out from a mixing board that you can generally capture, and or shotgun mics on different cameras can capture this audio pretty well. And while the latter is mostly true, I would say, lineouts coming from a mixing board can be sort of a mixed bag in and of itself. Sometimes things aren't always mixed very consistently, and what you hear in the room is actually a combination of that instrument live and whatever's being put out through the PA system. In other cases, I've shot events where simply it isn't even possible to grab a lineout, say with a more complex mixing board setup where a separate bus has to be set up, and if the audio engineer is sort of someone that's just coming in and isn't as familiar with the board or doesn't have time to do it, it's not possible. And so in a lot of those cases, I've actually used the XY mic pair to capture the audio in the room, and I have been continually surprised by how good this sounds. Now I'm going to link to a couple of different videos up here that should allow you to check out sort of what this audio sounds like when I've captured it through the XY mics. I would include some samples here. Unfortunately, copyright claims and such would be annoying and are something I have to worry about here and deal with. And as I was editing this, since I figured it could be of use to have a sample with just my voice using the XY mics alone, this is what my voice sounds like using the XY mic pair through the Zoom H6. Now I will still apply a little bit of compression and other things after the fact, oftentimes once I get the audio, but in some situations where I've gone in thinking a line out would be my best audio option for something, these XY mics have come through and actually been the difference maker in being able to capture excellent audio. So this is something I wouldn't sleep on if you're actually thinking about getting an external recorder. I certainly didn't even think about this when I purchased the H6, but after going through a couple gigs with the H6 and using this XY mic pair, I am really glad I did. So really that is sort of my complete run through of the Zoom H6. So hopefully this little review and run through has been of some help to you. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if it has. I'm definitely planning on doing more audio related gear reviews and sort of tutorials in the near future. That is all I have to say. So thanks for watching.